I'm Chris Wright, Legal Marijuana Now party candidate for governor. George Carlin said, "The big wealthy business interests make all the important decisions. You have no choice. They own everything. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets, and they own all the big media companies. So they control just about all the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table to figure out how badly they're getting bleeped by a system that threw them overboard 30 bleeping years ago. They'll get it all from you sooner or later because they own this bleeping place. It's a big club and you ain't in it. By the way, it's the same big club they used to beat you over the head with all day long with their media telling you what to believe, what to think, and what to buy. The table is tilted, folks. The game is rigged, and nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. People of modest means continue to elect these rich bleep suckers who don't give a bleep about them. They don't give a bleep about you. They don't give a bleep about you. It's called the American dream because you have to be asleep to believe it. Well, everything Carlin said is bleeping true. When it comes to defending our fragile democracy, restoring citizen control of government, and reining in corporate power, we are in the fight of our lives. It is impossible to restore democratic citizen control of government by voting for the money-controlled ruling party candidates. Asking the two-party tyranny to favor campaign finance reform is like asking a turkey to favor Thanksgiving. Masochistically wasting your vote on the ruling parties is ruining our country. The only candidates who are uncorrupted by money are third parties and independents like me, because we've never been elected. The ruling parties cannot be reformed. Whenever anyone reform-minded gets elected, they have very little chance of becoming effective if they defy their party's leadership. Those that defy their party's leadership are consistently driven from office by money-backed candidates in the primaries. Bernie Sanders never had a chance to become the Democratic Party's presidential candidate. Even if he had won the primary, the party would have selected a different candidate at the Democratic National Convention. The same is true of the Republican Party because they all get their money from the same feed bag. Lloyd Blankfein, former banking CEO of Goldman Sachs and a Hillary Clinton backer in 2016, threatened the Democratic Party with financial disaster when he told the Financial Times, "I might find it harder to vote for Bernie than for Trump." Republicans toyed with getting rid of Trump, but Trump didn't offend the big money control of government. The Washington Post found that 60% of the people facing charges related to the Capitol riot showed signs of prior money troubles, including bankruptcies, notices of eviction or foreclosure, had bad debts, or unpaid taxes over the past 2 decades. While we cannot condone racism, bigotry, and violence, we must acknowledge that the Capitol rioters and working class people on the right are hurting economically, no less than people on the left. The same social forces that produced the George Floyd and Capitol riots created our current economic misery. We are at the mercy of the economic royalists who exploit workers, stymie democracy, orchestrate state repression, censor free speech, hoard obscene wealth, and wage endless wars. They are the real enemies. They divide us by race, creed, color, national origin, abortion, gender, drugs, guns, which deflects attention from the far more egregious abuses of power. And while we're fighting it out, they're laughing all the way to the bank. America's ruling parties, with their failed drug prohibition, mass incarceration, militarized surveillance police state, now uses any excuse to feed the $800 billion military-industrial complex for endless wars that have bankrupted America. While intelligence agencies have made us the most spied upon, watched, photographed, and monitored population in human history. They have deindustrialized America and sent our jobs overseas in what Ross Perot called the giant sucking sound. The culture wars began 42 years ago with President Reagan's voodoo economics and our first multi-trillion-dollar deficit in history, now $30 trillion. By voting for the least worst ruling party candidate, the deficit got worse, the rich got richer, you got poorer, and the government got more divided. At what point do you decide that voting for the least worst, money-corrupted candidate is making things worse? Time after time, election after election, media manipulation by money has you voting against reason in tribal identity politics. They pit the post-modernist Democratic clan against the pre-modernist Republican clan, where you can't bring yourself to vote third party because they brainwashed a nagging fear that your precious identity issue might lose to the hated tribe. Give it up. The least worst is irredeemable. You can't change the status quo by voting for the status quo. It gives them no reason to change. Yet, until you accept that voting for the ruling party candidates is causing the inevitable decline of society, the spiral into the abyss will continue. Reason, the ability to gain objective knowledge by inferring from fact or logic, should tell you that voting least worst is stupid. Reason is man's instrument for arriving at the truth. You cannot allow your biases and emotions to overcome objective truth. Martin Luther King said, "There are three ways the oppressed can deal with their oppression. One of them is to rise up with physical violence and corroding hatred. Another way is to give in to the oppression, but there is another way, and that is to organize mass nonviolent resistance based on the principle of love. As I look into your eyes and into the eyes of all my brothers, I say to you, I love you. I would rather die than hate you. And I am foolish enough to believe that through the power of this love, somewhere men of the most recalcitrant bent will be transformed." End quote. So let us come together as patriots in mass nonviolent resistance to overthrow the two-party tyranny with peace, love, and understanding. It won't happen overnight, but things will only begin to improve when you finally promise yourself to never, ever vote for the money-controlled ruling party candidates. Let us restore our rights, reform our laws, and reveal to a doubting world what Minnesota still can be. Please vote Chris Wright for governor in the Legal Marijuana Now primary. Go to voteright.org and let's get growing. Thanks.